Pinacoteca Virreinal, an art museum in a former convent in Mexico City, holds a rich collection. Throughout Mexico, religious art flourished in the colonial period. A painting of Our Lady of the Sorrows is placed above an altar, decorated with purple flowers and bitter fruit. The courtyard of San Miguel's convent of La Concepcion also has a new life. Owned by the national government, most of the convent is now an art center and school. Josefina Vasquez and Maria Williams grew up in San Miguel.
On Friday, we venerate Our Lady of the Sorrows by building altars in the private homes, and the same way with the public fountains. The neighborhood gets together and build the altars in the fountains, and then in the private homes, anyone that has a picture of Our Lady of the Sorrows or a statue will build an altar and open the home to the public.
They take the pictures of Mary home. Today, they will make altars in her honor. When it grows dark, everyone will be welcome to come and join them.
Concede a cuantos acompañamos, ahora jubilosos a Cristo nuestro Rey y Señor, reunidos con Él en la Jerusalén del cielo, por el mismo Jesucristo nuestro Señor.
Visitors and residents are preparing for Palm Sunday.
Y es Dios por los siglos de los siglos.
As early as the 4th century, processions much like today's were held in Jerusalem.
A ese Padre gozosos cantemos, empuñando con fe su pendón. Que viva mi Cristo, que viva mi Rey, que impere doquiera triunfante su ley. Viva Cristo Rey.
As Christ went down into Jerusalem, the crowds were moved to the depths of their hearts. Some spread cloaks in the road. Others began to cut branches from palm trees. as Christ went down into Jerusalem for the last time.
In 1740, after 10 years of active priestly life, Father Luis Felipe Alfaro left San Miguel to build the sanctuary of Atotonilco, 7 miles from town. He brought with him the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola. Father Francisco Serrano sees many men and women who make the pilgrimage to Atotonilco.
El Padre Alfaro, estoy seguro que ya conocía.
Why did Friar Alfaro recommend penance? A certain Father Alfaro knew the Gospel account in which one day the apostles tried to expel a demon from a person and failed.
Pero cuando se lo piden a Jesucristo,
When they went to Christ, He did it, expelled the demon.
los apóstoles le preguntan, ¿por qué
Why,
nosotros
asked the
no pudimos?
apostles,
¿Por qué tú
couldn't
sí
we do
lo
this?
puedes hacer? Jesucristo
He
le
responded to
responde a
them,
los apóstoles,
this kind of
"Es
demon
que esta clase
can
de
only be
demonios
cast out through prayer
solamente
and
son
penance.
expulsados mediante la oración y la penitencia."
The walls, ceilings, and archways at Atotonilco are covered with paintings. Many remind the penitent of the reality of evil and sin. Just inside the entry, the devil is shown as he comes at the moment of death, still hoping to claim a soul. Christ himself was not spared temptation. Satan appealed to all the human desires of the flesh and the psyche, offering food, riches, power, and honor, pride. The Calvario Chapel at Atotonilco shows the mixture of richness and disrepair found in many churches in Mexico. In the early 1900s, a band of soldiers rode their horses into the chapel. The statue of the bad thief was shot to pieces. One way, perhaps, to rid the world of evil. Father Alfaro followed Christ's injunction to his apostles. Take up your cross and follow me. He returned to San Miguel each year and carried a heavy cross in a Holy Week procession. His cross is kept here, with paintings showing the martyrdom suffered by the apostles. To the side of the church of Atotonilco is a retreat area. Throughout the year, thousands of penitential pilgrims, men and women, choose to come here from all parts of Mexico to spend a week in spiritual reflection. Despite traditional machismo, the men of the procession subordinate themselves to the process of worship, becoming, like children in Josefa's nuns, brides of Christ. Those wearing veils are here for the first time.
Yes, that's right. When we go from here, we're going to talk with everyone close to us and tell them this is a good thing. And if they like to come and see it, this is for us a holy place.
This painting in the church of Totonilco depicts Father Alfaro's procession in the 18th century. It was Alfaro who gave the events of Holy Week much of the form they follow today, 250 years later. On Wednesday of Holy Week, a recently revived Way of the Cross follows Father Alfaro's original route. The procession begins at the Oratorio and stops at each of the 14 stations in the streets. Each station depicts events of the journey of Jesus from the palace of Pilate to his entombment. These three crosses indicate the moment of Christ's death. The procession pauses at each of the stations and ends at the Calvario.
Dios te salve María, llena eres de gracia, el Señor es contigo. Bendita eres entre las mujeres y bendito el fruto de tu vientre, Jesús.
All ages participate in the recreation of Father Alfaro's Way of the Cross. Thursday of Holy Week. The Mass of the Holy Eucharist recreates the Last Supper. The washing of the feet reminds worshippers of Christ's humility. This night he proclaimed his mandamiento nuevo. A new law I give unto you, that you love one another as I love you.
Tomad y bebed todos de él, porque ese es el cáliz de mi sangre. Sangre de la alianza nueva y eterna que será derramada por vosotros y por todos los hombres para el perdón de los pecados. Haced esto en conmemoración mía.
The ancient wooden clappers, the metraca, reminds everyone that no bells will toll. No Mass will be said again until the sufferings are done.
Dense el saludo de la paz. Ten piedad de nuestras almas y concédenos la
After the Mass of the Last Supper, the chalice holding the consecrated host, Christ present in the Eucharist, is placed in a special tabernacle, a monumento constructed for this occasion. The people in San Miguel follow the tradition of visiting 7 churches this holy night. The Mass of the Last Supper and the visits to the churches provide a bright interlude in Holy Week. In a church patio are reminders that this is also the night when Christ is turned over to the civil authorities, betrayed by one of his own. Christ is imprisoned. The wound on his cheek is plain. The Judas kiss. Some men and women visiting churches recall when there were no services, no processions. Problems between the church and state in Mexico existed from the very beginning about matters of authority, spiritual and secular, and property. The church was extremely wealthy. No one would claim the church always used its riches well. There were abuses, excesses, and errors. But for 300 years, the church provided education, hospitals, all the social and spiritual services for a vast territory. In the 1920s, in a world marked by socialist conflict, Mexico experienced a struggle little known outside of its borders. President Plutarco Elias Calles began his own Mandamiento Nuevo, rigorously applying provisions of earlier constitutions that could in effect eliminate religious practice in Mexico. Calles' actions brought the divisions of the country out into the open. In response, the bishops ordered a cessation of public worship, a peaceful course. But some in Mexico felt that a show of arms was necessary.
All these religious services that we had, they stopped completely between 1927 and the end of 1929, because there was the War of the Cristeros, fought between the government and a lot of the people of Mexico. They closed all the churches. They killed an awful lot of priests. A lot of the priests had to go out of the country. Some of them, they were hidden in houses, private homes. And at that time, if a baby was born, you had to find out where a priest was hidden so that he will baptize him. My mother and father got married in 29. And then when my mother arrived in San Miguel after their honeymoon, they still, in the main square, there were 4 men hanging from the pillars of the Jardín. And so all this time, there were no ceremonies of any kind. Until 1930, then, the churches begin to open, the priests begin to come back.
The armed Cristeros movement that arose asserted the right of the people of Mexico to a spiritual as well as an earthly life. Their battle cry, Viva Cristo Rey. Slowly within the past decades, the processions have left the church atriums and gone back into the stone-covered streets. Today, Friday of Holy Week, 3 major processions take place. The first from San Juan de Dios honors Señor de la Columna, Christ at the column, brought from Totonilco 2 weeks earlier.